First, I want to say thank you for coming out, especially to a campus where a lot of people disagree with you. But I have to say, like, I'm one of the people who's probably disagrees with you on a bunch of stuff. And I wanted to ask about, so basically, a lot of your arguments seem to be based in history, and the idea that fascism is historically rooted on left wing side. But you don't say anything about how that reflects on the current day. And there was a point where you mentioned Hillary Clinton's fascism, but you didn't really talk about the fascism on the left today. And I feel like that would be a stronger argument. And can you say anything about that?
Certainly. Actually, what a fantastic question. It's one thing to talk about racism historically. Where's the racism now? It's one thing to talk about fascism historically. Where's the fascism now? All right. So let me point to two fascist modes that are on the left, very visible, right in front of us. The first is ideological, and the second is tactical. Okay, so let's start with the ideology. What is the meaning of fascist economics? So the fascists were socialists, but they were a very special type of socialists. The fascists believed that instead of the government nationalizing the corporations, which is basically what socialism does, socialist countries like India would nationalize the banks, or nationalize the airlines, or nationalize the energy sector, and so on. The fascist solution was different. The fascist solution was, we'll let the companies stay private, but we will have the government control them. The government will be like a quarterback or a muscle man directing these companies as to what to do, and it'll be, so state regulation of private business was the fascist mode of socialism. Now, interestingly, in the Obama era, over the last 8 years, we have seen essentially the federal government take control of the banks, the investment sector, largely the energy industry through the EPA, the healthcare industry, every hospital, every hospice. Now, again, we have private insurance companies. But the way this worked is that Obama got them into a room and strong-armed them. He said, listen, I'm going to take you over, and you're not going to like that. But I have a sweetener for you. I'm going to force tens of millions of Americans who don't want to buy health insurance to buy it. And that's going to mean untold profits for you guys. So you need to buy ads supporting my program, which is what the health insurance companies did. So this was the dirty racket called Obamacare. But my point is not even to complain about the racket, but to point to the fascist element of it. The idea of government control of the private sector. I mean, here's Obama firing the head of General Motors. Only in a fascist country does the president of a democracy get to fire the head of a private corporation. So that's ideological fascism in the economic sense. Now we turn to tactics. And many people, when I say this, expect me to say Antifa. And again, it's not Antifa. The most dangerous guy in Berkeley is not Antifa. It's the mayor of Berkeley, Jesse Aragon. He's the guy who has the power to call off the cops. The real fascism that we're seeing today in America is the use of the instruments of the federal government against political opponents. That's pure fascism. In other words, if I'm the president and I'm able to use the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, if I'm going to mobilize SWAT teams to go after, to audit, to arrest, to lock up people who don't agree with me, this use of the state, thoroughly undemocratic, is classically fascist. Now, Trump's not doing this. But increasingly, there's creeping evidence that the left is. I'll just give you a tiny example from my own case, because I'm going to talk about what I actually know. The Congressional Oversight Committee has a copy in their hands of my file. And this is my case in the Obama administration for exceeding campaign finance laws. Did I exceed campaign finance laws? Yes. But no American has ever been locked up for 8 months for doing it. Right? Now, when you open up my file, you see in it, highlighted, D'Souza is a prominent critic of the Obama administration and made a movie very critical of Obama. And so even though my case involved $20,000, the FBI on its own assigned $100,000 to investigate my $20,000 case. That's abnormal. So when you see the government jumping in to target somebody, and they say it, in part at least because he is an opponent of our team, That's bad news. Even liberals should be up in arms about that. But in fact, I don't have any liberal defenders. Why? Because to them, I'm an anti-Obama guy, I'm an Obama critic, and the less we see of you, the better. So we're in this gangsterish mode in American politics. I came of age in the 80s, in the Reagan era. And while Reagan and Tip O'Neill were fierce adversaries, they'd go out for a beer afterward. I mean, they could ultimately say, we disagree, I care about this, you care about that, let's meet in the middle. That politics has gone from America, and I mourn it. I think it's a pity that it's gone. But I find myself in this new environment and having to fight in it. So there's no point in nostalgically hearkening back to Reaganism. We have to actually surf on the wave. We have to swim in the water that we're given, and we have to hope for a better day in America in the future. So thank you all for coming. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.